except for today, it doesn't say that God, except for Monday, where it doesn't say that God saw that it was good. So that's the question. One answer is the answer that Ken offered, and that's brought down in the commentators, in the Medrash, and that is because God did not conclude his work on the until the third day. Rashi quotes that interpretation. Rashi says that we don't finish with the water until day 3. Day 2, we divide the water that's in the atmosphere and the water that's on earth. But the water has not been concluded yet, because on day 3, God would get the water to gather in oceans and allow the dry land to appear. So because we did not finish the work of day 2 until day 3, therefore it doesn't say, and God saw that it was good on day 2. And Rashi adds an interesting detail. Rashi says that if you look at day 3, it says, and it was good twice. It says kitov twice, because day 3, really 2 things happen. Number 1 is the earth appears. The water gathers into the oceans, and the earth appears. And then it says God saw that it was good. And then another thing happens on Tuesday is that God says, let the earth give forth vegetation. And when the earth gives forth vegetation, it says, Vayar Elokim kitov, God saw that it was good. So what happens is, you see here that it says Monday, it doesn't say it was good. And Tuesday, it says it was good twice, says Rashi. The first time it says it was good is for the conclusion of the work of Monday. And one is for the work of Tuesday, which is the vegetation. So it's a little bit strange. It seems like, well, God couldn't finish the job. You know, sometimes if you ever hired a contractor, they always tell you they'll be finished today. They never finish that day. They always have to come back tomorrow. So it seems like that on Monday, God says, okay, today we're going to deal with the water. He doesn't finish it. So he has to come back on Tuesday to finish the work on Monday, and then to do the work on Tuesday. So again, why is the water divided into 2 days? Why is part of the water taken care of on Monday and part of the water taken care of Tuesday? So Rashi answers a little bit, but that question itself, that Rashi's answer itself, requires further exploration. That's what we have to deal with. So we go to the Medrash interpretation that Vicky offers. Vicky is the mystic of the group. Vicky tells us that the problem with Monday is, this is a quote from the Medrash, Monday is a problem. You don't say good on Monday. Why not? Because on Monday, machloket was created. Disagreement, division. Division is not a good thing. Division is not good, and therefore it doesn't say, and God saw that it was good on Monday, because we don't like division. That's a wonderful answer. It's very inspiring. It makes for good sermon material. We could talk about how God loves everything. Everything in the world is good, except for Monday, except for division. That's a wonderful sermon material. The problem with this interpretation is that it's a little bit strange, because on Tuesday, it does say, and it was good, and Rashi says that's for Monday. So division is bad on Monday, but division is good on Tuesday. Okay, so now it gets getting a little complicated. Is division a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it depends. On Monday, division is bad. On Tuesday, division is good. Only Judaism could come up with an answer like that. So what exactly is happening here? So the good news is that there's a tremendous amount of Hasidic insight on this concept. So this is actually a little bit fun. Of course, we have to connect it to the holiday of Shavuot, which is coming up, the holiday of the giving of the Torah, which is going to be next Thursday night, Friday on Shabbos, a week from Thursday night. And because we're already getting into the Shavuos mode, and we're talking about the Monday and the Tuesday, so we can talk about it, we can mention it. So here we go. So what's the pattern here? The pattern here is day 1, everything is perfect. God is the only one in the world. As we mentioned earlier today, Yom Echad, God is singular. There's oneness. Day 2 is division. Division is bad. Ostensibly, it's bad. It doesn't say, and it was good, so I assume it's bad. But then Tuesday, the earth appears, and then God says it was good. What is good? The earth is good? No, Rashi says what's good is the melechet hamayim, the work of the water. In other words, Monday's creation is good on Tuesday. So Tuesday rectifies on Monday. What are we talking about? What's happening here? So what's happening here is that loneliness is not good. Being alone is not good. That's what I mentioned earlier, that because of the technical difficulties, I gave a wonderful class this morning, about 15 minutes. It was an excellent class. except that the phone wasn't working, so I was talking to myself. And then when I realized it was a little bit disappointing, and I sort of got a little taste of what God felt on day one. So people don't want to be alone. By the way, if you look in the Torah, there are very few things the Torah says, lo tov, not good, right? Look at the story of Genesis. Everything is good. Even Monday is liberated on Tuesday. Even Monday, which we don't say it's good on Monday, but on Tuesday we say it's good. But there's nothing that the Torah says, lo tov is not good. What is the one thing the Torah says in Genesis, lo tov is not good? Lo tov hayot ha'adam levado. It's not good to be alone. That's the only thing, not good to be alone. It's just not healthy for a human being. Human being needs to connect to other people. If not in person, then at least on Zoom. But you have to connect to other people. So Sunday is good. In other words, God's alone. He doesn't want to be alone, so he has to create somebody else. The problem with creating somebody else is that inevitably creating somebody else is going to create division, is going to create disagreements. Because if God creates the world, it's something outside of him, as we mentioned, right? We said the whole concept, the word creation, bara, literally means to be outside. Because in our perception, we're outside God. That's what the word bara, one of the meanings of the word bara is outside. And we mentioned that even in English, the word exist comes from the Greek word of ex, like to exit, to be outside. So we're outside God's presence in our perception. So that God creates somebody else. If he creates somebody else, that's day two. The problem is there's division, and division could create tension. What happens? What's the goal? The tension itself is necessary, but it's not the goal. The goal is Tuesday. What is Tuesday? Tuesday somehow once bridges the first two. So once there's peace between the two, now the concept of otherness has been corrected. So in other words, day two creates a separate entity, a separate perspective outside of God. That's division. But day three represents the peace between both perspectives. And ultimately, once you have peace between both perspectives, then the second perspective is actually good. So is it good to have another thing other than God? Is it good or not? Well, when there's something else that's not out of sync with God, then it's necessary, but it's not good. On day three, as we will explain, that other thing now makes peace with God. Now the otherness actually is a good thing, because now we want something outside of God to make peace with God. So that's in short. I'm going to try to illustrate. So once upon a time, again, it happened this morning. Once upon a time, I gave a lecture, and it was a fabulous lecture, and it was very, very good, and made me feel very good because nobody disagreed. Nobody asked any questions. And after the lecture, it took about an hour, I realized that the reason why nobody disagreed is because there was nobody in the room. Similar to what happened this morning. There was no one in the room. So how do you feel if everybody agrees with you because nobody's in your room? Nobody's here. No one's here. No one disagrees with you. So ultimately, that's not meaningful. So what do? So then you have somebody else. You bring somebody else into the room. And you start talking. And the moment you open your mouth, they start arguing with you. And they say, it's not true. It's wrong. And that's division. And then after a while, you're screaming, the other person is screaming, everybody's screaming. Then the third person comes into the room. The third person comes into the room, and after a while, listening to the two people screaming, he says, listen, ladies and gentlemen, stop screaming, because ultimately, both of you agree. Both of you are saying the same things in other words. And ultimately, spiritually speaking, that's what happens on Tuesday, as we will try to illustrate. Another metaphor would be, you don't want to be alone. So you go out and you find a mate. So you find a mate, either someone to marry or even someone to be a roommate. That's also a mate. So you bring someone into a roommate. And I always say that I'm actually very easy. I always thought I was very easy to get along with. I was very easy. I'm a very good roommate because I never create any tension. But then I realized that's because I never had a roommate. The moment you have a roommate, the moment you bring someone into your life, all of a sudden, there's already going to be tension. Why? I like to put the coffee here. She likes to put the coffee there. I like blue. She likes orange. Whatever the case is, the moment there's going to be somebody else, that's already division. The moment there's division, there's tension. And that tension is not, it's necessary, but it's not good. What is good is when those tensions can be harmonized. So if I'm alone, there's no tension because I'm alone, that's not good. If there's two perspectives and I'm in a state of tension, that's not either good. I mean, it's necessary, but it's not good. When do you have good? When the two perspectives could complete each other, and you can create harmony between the two. In other words, you're blending both perspectives. That would create the ultimate harmony. And what happens is that's when Monday has been healed. That's when the division finds its purpose. Because the purpose of a division ultimately is not to create tension. The purpose of a division is to create what we would call harmony, which is both perspectives together, joining together in a peaceful manner. So according to the Kabbalah, this is exactly what happens on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. What happened on Sunday? Sunday's Yom Echad, God, day one, God is alone. There's no sense of separation. Day two, there's already a separation. There's heaven and there's earth. There's the higher waters, there's the lower waters. As we explained before, the waters that could mean physical water, but it can mean many things in many planes. Water could mean kindness, water could mean reality, water could mean pleasure. So there's a division between spiritual and physical. There's the spiritual pleasures, there's the physical pleasures. There's the perspective of the spiritual, there's the perspective of the physical, but there's a division between the two. Now, what's the purpose of the division? So just that there should be a division, that's not good. What happens on Tuesday, according to the Kabbalah, now there's dry land. What does dry land mean? What does dry land represent? So again, dry land is already the potential for the human being. As we will explain, the way the 6 days of creation work, you have 3, and the second 3 are really just paralleling the first 3. So it's an elaboration of the first 3. So day 1 and day 4 are connected. Day 2 and day 5 are connected. Day 3 and day 6 are connected. So in other words, and generally speaking, everything was created in the first 3 days. And then those creations are further elaborated on day 4, 5, and 6. So day 3 is the creation of the earth. The earth appears. But earth is also the potential for day 6, where the human being is going to operate. Right? The human being can't operate on the water. He needs the dry land. So the moment you have dry land, you already have the potential for the human being. What is the human being's task? The task of the human being is now to bridge the lower water and the higher water, to connect the spiritual and the physical. How does he do so is a good question. Part of it is within himself, because as we will discuss, the human being himself is the only creation that's really a hybrid between heaven and earth. He's got a body from the earth, he's got a soul from the heaven, and when you make peace and harmony within yourself, you're making peace and harmony within all of creation. So what we're trying to say here is that Monday is division, but division per se is not the goal. Division is the purpose of a division is to be able to later create the harmony between the heaven and the earth, and that's much richer than day 1. So day 3, the unity of day 3 is much richer than the unity of day 1, because day 1 is singularity. Day 3 is the unity where you have different perspectives coming together. That's much more rich and much more meaningful. Tie this back to Shavuot. When we think about the number 1, we think about the Torah. But the Talmud says, the Medrash says, that if you look at the holiday of the giving of the Torah, you will see that what comes up most often is the number 3. There's a Medrash that says as follows: Blessed is the Lord who gave us a Torah of 3, to a people of 3, through the 3rd, on the 3rd. Okay, so what happens is, if you look at the Torah, it says that the Torah emphasizes we came to Sinai at the 3rd month. B'chodesh Bashlishi. On the 3rd month of the Exodus of Egypt, they come to Sinai. That's going to be Rosh Chodesh Sivan. That happens to be this year. It's going to fall out this a week from today. A week from today is Rosh Chodesh Sivan. A week from today is the first of Sivan, the first of the 3rd month. So the Medrash, the verse says explicitly that we come to Sinai, we get the Torah at Sinai in the 3rd month, because the month of Passover is month number 1. Then we know that Moshe says that we're going to prepare for the giving of the Torah for 3 days. So we get the Torah after 3 days of preparation. Then we know that the Jewish people are divided into 3. There's Kohanim, there's the Leviim, the Levites, and the Yisraelim, the Israelites. Then we know the Torah itself is divided into 3, because the written Torah has the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, the Nevi'im, the prophets, and the Ketuvim, the writings. So the Torah is divided into 3. And then you have Moshe. Moshe gives us the Torah. Moshe is the 3rd of his family. So you take all those 3s, and the Medrash makes us a little poetic. Blessed is the Lord who gave us the Torah of 3. Torah divided into 3. So the people of 3, Jewish people divided into 3. through the third, which is Moshe, on the third month of the third day of preparation of the third month after they left Egypt. So the number 3 repeats itself. So why is number 3 so important here when it comes to the giving of the Torah? Because that is exactly the purpose of the Torah. Again, oneness is just God. Right? Number 1 represents just the perspective of God. Number 2 represents the physical perspective, the division between the physical perspective and the perspective of the spiritual, the perspective of God. And what is 3? What is the Torah? The Torah's job is to bridge the two. The Torah's job is to say that you can do a mitzvah. You can take something physical and make it a vessel to spirituality. You can take God and connect God to something physical. So that's 3, that's peace. So once you have 3, once you made peace between the heaven and the earth, now the division has been healed. So the purpose of the division is not for the sake of division. The purpose of the division of the perspectives is to allow that later there should be a unity and a union and a harmony between both perspectives. That's why on Monday it doesn't say good, because Monday represents the division. And on Tuesday, once we have the potential for the peace between the heaven and the earth, now we understand the purpose of the division. So that is, in short, what the Kabbalah and Hasidic philosophy talk about on this concept of what the Medrash says, that Monday, it doesn't say good because division was created on Monday. So again, the question is, so if division is bad on Monday, why is division good on Tuesday? The answer is because on Tuesday, both perspectives can make peace. If both perspectives can make peace, that's what, now we know why we need 2. Because otherwise we're just stuck with day 1 where there's only one perspective. When you have both perspectives making peace, now each enhances the other, that is the ultimate good. And that's why it says twice good on Tuesday. So I'm gonna unmute if anybody wants to share and enhance, because if it's just me talking, that's just like day 1. You have to have multiple perspectives here. Okay, if anybody wants to share, that would be wonderful.
Rabbi, I'm not an architect, but I know some architects or designers say the table that rests the best is one with 3 legs.
Interesting. More than 4. Interesting. Yes, the ethics of the fathers say the earth stands on 3 pillars. So yes, I would say I see that makes sense. So 3 is an important number, but again, 3 is not the absence of unity. 3 is the unity that brings along a sense of harmony. In other words, 3 represents that multiple perspectives could unite. 1 represents there's only one perspective. 3 represents the various perspectives could unite.
Thank you.
Seems that separating the earth and the water is a separation in itself also. Even on the third.
So you're saying day 3 is also separation. It's also separation. So that's why do we not use the word division? So the answer is that on day 3, we'll get to the answer in a minute, but in other words, before we figure out what this means, day 2, it says the word vihi mavdil, let there be a separation, right? So vihi mavdil, let there be a separation. The Torah defines the separation of day 2 as separation. That's when the higher waters and the lower waters are separated. Day 3, the Torah doesn't use the word separation. All it says, let the water gather to one place. And there's some mysticism there. We'll talk about that another time. Let the water gather to one place. And let the earth appear. So the division that happens on Tuesday is not discussed in terms of division. It's discussed in terms of now you're being able to see the nuance. Used to be water and the earth was sort of covering each other. Now earth appears. Now you could see it. Doesn't use the term division. That's why we don't say machlekes, we don't say division was created on Tuesday. But that's only semantics. The semantics that are here to bring a deeper point. The deeper point is day 2, the second step. On day 3, again, division is only division if we are not making peace. And day 3, there could be a harmony between water and earth. So day 2 represents the fact that the two views are opposing. And here's the point. The point is you could never get to day 3 without day 2. In other words, there's always going to have to be, before you get harmony, there has to be tension. So what happens is like this. Let me tell you the history of, let me tell you what happens to everybody. First thing you have is you meet somebody else and you fall in love, okay? What fall in love means is that you view yourself as one. Justifiably so or not, you view yourself as one. You don't see the division. You don't see their differences, even though if you see their differences, but it doesn't feel, it feels like you're one. And that's why everything is wonderful. Then the honeymoon is over. I don't know when it's over. It could be over in 1 day, it could be over in 80 years, in 100 years, doesn't matter. Eventually the honeymoon's over. What does it mean the honeymoon's over? All of a sudden I realize we're not one. All of a sudden I realize, hey, newsflash, somebody else has another perspective. And the moment of that recognition is painful. Because that's when the honeymoon is over. That's when you feel that I'm so different than that other person. And that tension is painful. Now, that tension, if it's channeled, it could be very meaningful. Because ultimately, the relationship is about day 3, that you're going to have, you're able to harmonize those two perspectives. But there's going to be a place of pain. That's what I'm trying to say here. Trying to say is you can't skip day 2. Day 2 is where the division it feels with that there's a difference, a separation, a difference between the two of us. Day 3, that same difference is no longer division. So that's why you're asking me, how come the division of day 3 is not considered separation? Because day 3, it's already harmony. What's harmony? Harmony is there's 2 different voices singing together. So you're going to say harmony is division because there's 2 different voices? No, because on day 3, the different perspectives are not clashing. If it's not clashing, you're not going to use the term division.
Rabbi, on the 3rd day also, that's when it was through God's will, but that's when things started happening, like vegetation started growing. That's true harmony.
Correct.
But
the way the Kabbalah puts it is all this is what ultimately what's harmonizing about day 3 is the potential for the humanity, and the human being ultimately is the one who harmonizes heaven and earth. Ultimately, it's the human being through the Torah, the human being through their own personality, because we are a hybrid of heaven and earth, so we can make peace. And certainly through the Torah is the blueprint that allows us to connect the heaven and the earth. But you're right, vegetation also. If you think about it for a second, what is vegetation? Vegetation is the water that was on earth goes back to heaven, comes back to earth to accomplish something on earth. So it's almost stringing everything together. It's stringing the heaven and the earth. The vegetation on the dry land is benefiting from the water that's in heaven, which benefits from the water that's on earth. All of a sudden, there's an ecosystem. So an ecosystem means
that was my point. You said
Yes.
You said it better.
Ecosystem here, what it's doing is it's, again, there are multiple components, but if they're not in opposition to each other, then they're enhancing each other. So that's the idea. The idea is that machlokes, plurality is only a problem if it's division. So on day 2, it's division. On day 3, the separation is not division. The separation is the key to harmony. Because again, harmony is when the different voices enhance each other. If you had an orchestra and everybody is playing the same tune and everybody is singing the same tune and the same instrument, that's not beautiful. Beauty is the concept of harmony.